Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the League of Legends Pro League Season 2. My name is Reed Rapid Melton. I'll be your shoutcaster, at least to the time being, as we hop into our first game of the night. It's going to be our our first series of the night. Second game of that series, Hard Random, taking on Aces High. And Aces High, a relatively new team. They have Holy Phoenix, the guy that you might have seen on Dark Passage, team that played at Worlds. And they're taking on one of the best teams in the CIS, and that is Hard Random. Now, Hard Random have been around under a bunch of different names, but they come into this tournament as somewhat as underdogs. Hard Random, they've kind of struggled. I believe they made it through the group stages just barely and got knocked into the losers bracket here, where we find them after a 2-0 loss versus Rock's Kiss. That's Alex Ish's team. Not Virtus Pro, but Aces High rather came down here, or Hard Random rather came down here just due to seeding. They've placed 6th over the course of the regular group stages, so that's why they're already down here. They won versus Renaissance, but haven't managed to pick up any games since then. And in this matchup, you would automatically favor Aces High, just given that they've had more successes over the course of the regular season and had almost the highest win ratio over the regular season, actually tying Sparta and Rockskiss at 6-1. Overall. So pretty impressive. Let's talk about the actual champions that have been locked in. And I hesitated to do this just because there are actually some really overlapping champion pools. But one of the champions that is not overlapping is this, or that actually is overlapping, that's what makes this weird, is the Jungle Kale. Madwife has locked that in, and that's something that you can't expect to see on a lot of teams in the jungle, but for both of these guys it's actually true, which is somewhat unique. However, versus the Jungle Kale, we're going to bring out a Pantheon, or at least Aces High are, and I like what they've got going on here. This is a ton of burst, a metric ton, or a British ton, which means you spell it T-O-N-N-E, which is actually more than a regular ton, but whichever is most, that's what we got. Aces High are going to blow somebody up, and they love playing comps like this because if you look at Aces High's team comp, they'll always have a way to help somebody out on the team. So you've got black shields, you've got stuns, you've got bursts, you've got invulnerability, a lot of different ways to help each other out. A lot of great team synergy, but for Hard Random, honestly, for a few of their team comps, it seems like they did Hard Random their champions here, and specifically the Kale makes me a little bit nervous. Traditionally, you want the 3 seconds of invulnerability for very immobile hyper carries, so you'd pick something like a Jinx or a Kog'Maw and then ult them so that when they inevitably got jumped on, it wouldn't deal all that much damage. But in this situation, there really aren't any of those, and so for the time being, sure, it's nice to have that invulnerability, but when you pick Kale jungle, that gives you the opportunity to pick very aggressive lanes so that they can harass each other down and then not die to the all-in when you gank because, hey, you got a Kale ult. Otherwise, you might as well just sit Kale in lane and have a a better ganking jungler come from the jungle. So interesting to see, and with the final lock-in there on an Azir, this is how you can tell that we're watching CIS teams play, because in other regions around the world, Azir would be almost permanently picked and banned. He is incredibly strong, has a lot of great zoning potential, sieging potential, and just, well, potential in general. Very, very mechanically high skill cap. So, extremely exciting champion to watch, unless you're not very good with him or just happen to get blown up instantly. A lot of Azirs like to go for a Asher's Tooth very early, or a lot of cooldown reduction, and those Azirs tend to die. So we'll see if he builds an early Zhonya's Hourglass, which is the build I've seen players have the most success with, and that's gonna do it for our champion picks and bans. So stick around, we'll be right back with the LOL Pro League Game 2. Aces High taking on Hard Random. Keep in mind, Aces are up 1 game in this best of 3 series. We'll see if Hard Random can bring it back when we come back. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the League of Legends Pro League. My name is Rapid and we'll be getting into this game here in just a second. 1 minute left or down on the clock, so we hop into game 2 between Hard Random and Aces High. Now Aces won game 1, so coming into this, Hard Random are kind of facing elimination from this entire tournament. This is the lower bracket, so if you lose, you go home. If you win, you'll actually stay in the tournament. And for Aces High, they actually represent one of the very few Turkish teams, I think, other than HWA in this tournament. A Turkish hope that honestly has a ton of potential. I'm excited to see where they can go because they finished tied for 3rd place over the course of the regular season with the strongest teams from both the CIS and the European region in Sparta and Roxkiss. So the best of the best here, they could do it, or they could honestly take down any of the teams here in the bracket. And they were actually the only team over the course of the regular season to give Roxkiss a loss. Unfortunately, that was actually a game 2 forfeit loss, but it was still a loss nonetheless. So, hopping into the early game, we saw some aggression mid, but no summoners blown or anything crazy like that. And with everybody connected, we're gonna get things started out here with Alex and Wildheart doing the Gromp, or no, those are the Krugs down at the bottom lane. I'll remember them. It's still preseason, so I'm allowed to have a few moments of forgetfulness. But yeah, the Krugs getting taken down. Same situation with the Gromp, so you can see both duo lanes actually picking up very early level 2s. Holy Phoenix and Noxiac will hit theirs first, and so I'll have a moment of success before Wildheart and Lex grab theirs off of another creep kill. So probably won't see too much aggression necessarily from the other lanes, but we can already find Thaldrin and Nike going head-to-head up top lane. Nike is not going to do well in this matchup. I can promise you that. If Thaldrin doesn't die very, very early on, then Nike is just going to get completely pressured out. So look for some early gank pressure top lane, and I like that pickup because the Kale pickup in the jungle for Hard Random, because that means you can gank top lane, and traditionally, theoretically Nike 3 would be very, very low health from having been harassed a lot, but that harass won't matter because he goes in and he's invulnerable. So at least that's the hope. We'll see how effective that is as the ganks come around, but we shouldn't see them for a while. Madwife is looking for a gank bottom, but against the Morgana lane, I'm pretty sure that's just a black shield and walk away kind of gank situation. Now, maybe they misplay it, and here we go. Well, I guess we'll get a chance to see. Madwife's gonna jump in here. He's gonna go for the slow there on a Noxiac, level 3, and there's the black shield, but they're still gonna pull him in. The Flay, and actually, I think it was the Death Sentence that broke the black shield. Flay hit and perfect follow-up first blood. I was skeptical. Madwife proving me wrong, and maybe a few other members of this team. He believed and made it happen. So Hard Random already off to a better start than they were in game 1, and Aces High having to keep an eye on that bottom lane, completely unwarded, by the way. Neither duo laner bottom, Noxiac or Holy Phoenix, threw down trinket wards early, so just about as easy of a gank as you can ask for. Madwife just walking down the lane and picking up a kill. Now, no summoner spells for Wildheart means that he may be a little bit more vulnerable, but Holy Phoenix doesn't have any either, and Noxiac had to blow his flash there too, so a lot of summoners traded, but in the end, all that early gold will help out Madwife in the jungle eventually, whenever he decides to go back. But we already have some action mid lane as Theocles was looking to come mid. Unfortunately, won't be going for it. Now, he did pass over a ward on his way down bottom lane. That means that you can tell Hard Random, they're picking it out. They know he's in the area, and you can already see Lex and Wildheart backing off. So I think for the first time this cast, I am being joined by my co-caster Sigalus. So let me go ahead and get him in here, and just go ahead and introduce yourself whenever you're in.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm sorry I'm a bit late, but psyched to get into this game, and certainly there looks like there's a decent amount of action so far already.
There is, and in case you missed game number 1, don't worry, because everybody else did too. I just got here for game number 2 as well. Aces High up 1-0, and they're taking on Hard Random, a team that, like I said during champion picks and bans, kind of looked like they hard random their team comp. Nothing too crazy, but the jungle Kale pick's still not something I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one. Obviously, when Devourer was really strong, it kind of made a little bit of sense, because Devourer was just so good on Kale. But they nerfed Devourer, they about half the damage it begins with. And since then, I feel like it's a lot less strong than it was. It still has the advantage of, you know, finding a place on the map to use that Kale pick to get the intervention, which is such a strong ability. But in isolation, it has definitely lost a lot of power since the changes to that Devourer enchant.
Yeah, I agree. The Devourer enchant, not quite what it used to be. And so now, primarily, if you're an aggressive ganking jungler, you go for Stalker's Blade. If you need sustain in the jungle or just extra wave clear, then you pick up the Hunter's Machete. Or the Ranger's Trailblazer after the Hunter's Machete, which is what Theocles has done. I don't know, I would have liked to see a Stalker's Blade for him as well. Just to, you know, help close the distance, get in range for a stun, add some CC to the kit. It's just an overall great item now that none of the jungle items, aside for the Poacher's Knife, actually lower the cooldown on Smite. So it's the same cooldown no matter what, and going for Stalkers gives you an extra offensive ability.
Yeah, I really do like Stalkers, especially on something like Pantheon, who wants to be applying lots of pressure early on. You know, maybe he feels like just Kale is going to be able to farm a lot faster than him. He wants to be able to catch up with her in that respect, but either way, it is a little bit of a strange choice. And actually, you know, what we were talking about earlier on with the Devourer enchant is there's more to it than just that as well, because Kale's now, they're going for the Magus enchant, and I feel like that really doesn't have the same effect.
Mad Wipe in the mid lane, a lot of action in there. As you can see, Theocles was coming in, but alright, hold the phone. Not quite as epic a gank as I expected it to be, so we're back to where we started.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to get in there for some aggression without maybe Grand Skyfall being up.
Or possibly both hard and random.
Yeah, that is definitely possible. And actually, whoa, look at this. This is a super early dragon. 8 minutes coming out of Aces High. Obviously, Pantheon's not quite as good at it as he used to be, but, you know, it looks like Wildheart, I don't think he's going to follow that up. It would be a little bit crazy. But yeah, I mean, basically, ever since the changes to Dragon, where his attack is now a spell, it becomes a lot more difficult for Pantheon to do that early on. But they still managed it just because of the fact that, you know, Mad Wife wasn't really able to contest.
Now, Holy Phoenix, speaking of not being able to contest, he was in there, but after that dragon, you have to take a look at, whoa, Theocles, that wolf camp is not going to kill him off there. He'll find a way to kill it just the last second. It's kind of scared me a little bit. Jungler's dropping low down these days, but oh my goodness, that death sentence from Wildheart scared the bejesus out of me. I was just like, no way, man. We got robbed. They're just barely missing that death sentence. To be fair, this has been a terrible lane for Wildheart so far. He has hit, you know how there's that thresh trick where you wait for the minion to be just about to die and then you throw the thresh hook right through it? He's tried that like 3 times in a row and he's gotten blocked every single time, where the minion just barely doesn't die, and so his death sentence actually CS's the minion instead. So the struggle of being Wildheart this game, I'm a big fan of him ever since he came onto the hard random roster. I think it was about a year ago today. He replaced, I want to say he replaced either AT Remains or, I forget exactly who it was, but when he came on there, I was a really big fan. Unfortunately, he's just been having a little bit of a rough lane phase, both games 1 and 2.
I mean, at least when he does go for that minion trick and hits the minion, the cooldown does get reduced by 3 seconds. A sort of less known fact about Thresh's kit for a lot of players. You know, so it does, there is a little bit going his way when he messes up like that, and actually also, he's normally had his runic shield up, and obviously that shares the gold, so it's not the end of the world when it happens, it's just not what he's looking for. And right there, actually, we really saw Lex doing some significant damage back onto Ace's bot lane. So they're not out of it yet, you know, they're still doing a decent job. Top lane, I want to talk about a little bit. Thaldrun is doing a lot when it comes to pressuring onto Nike. He is just putting down some serious damage early on.
Yeah, and that's kind of what's expected. Range versus melee is always pretty abusive, but specifically Aurelia has a lot of problems early game with things like Nidalee, things like Lissandra, anything that can really bully you. early on in that matchup. So not a lane that Nike's going to be doing very, very well in, but you can see he's actually stayed relatively even in CS, only down by about 10-15, which is, I guess, understandable. I expected this to be a lane that we would see Madwife more active in, just because you know that it really has a lot of gank follow-up potential with the Blade Surge, stuns or slows, and a lot of damage there with E10 style. The only problem with that would be that Nike might die from ganks, which is why you pick the Kayle with an intervention. So now that Madwife is level 6, we'll see if he actually goes for those top lane ganks, knowing that he can keep his laner alive, even though Nike would ordinarily be very vulnerable due to harass.
I definitely like to see Madwife go for some pressure. I mean, I think top is a good option for that. Mid is a little bit more difficult to pull off. Bot lane as well could maybe go somewhere. You know, you get Lanterned in and you slow someone up, and that lets Thresh land an easier death sentence or Flay potentially. So there could definitely be potential for a gank in that bottom lane as well. But we haven't seen too much from him yet. Obviously, he has got the 1 kill, which I wasn't here for. I think that was in the bot lane. But, you know, he's proved that he can make something happen. He should try and make something happen some more.
I feel like that is general advice for just about any team around them. Winning the game fairly rarely happens by not doing anything. Although I have seen my fair share of games where the game just ends and you're just like, wait, what happened? Nothing happened. But somehow the game ended. At least as far as this game is concerned, yeah, like you said, kind of getting the snowball rolling is what you want to see. And you actually were the one that mentioned the Magus enchantment, which does appear to be what Madwife is going for. He's already got that Fiendish Codex built in there, looking to get that very, very early enchant, whereas a complete opposite perspective in the jungle for Theocles, he actually has Boots of Mobility, so he's looking to get into range, and I think that combos with his level 6 ultimate, the Grand Skyfall, very, very well, because it helps him be more mobile out of combat, so that he can position his ultimate to get back into combat.
Yeah, I like the Boots of Mobility early from Theocles, so long as he starts to put some pressure down. If he's just using it to walk around the jungle faster and farm a bit quicker, it's not that useful, and so far we haven't seen too much from him. So Theocles, in my opinion, kind of needs to step up his game a little bit. He needs to start pressuring some lanes. I think most likely, similar to Madwife, top lane is where he should be focusing his efforts. The combination of Pantheon and Lissandra is absolutely disgusting, because if you lock someone up with Lissandra, it's very difficult for them to actually, maneuver away from the center of that Grand Skyfall and avoid getting stunned up as soon as Pantheon lands.
Now, one thing that's going to help avoid getting stunned up as soon as Pantheon lands is, I guess the Kayle intervention is not going to help against the stun, but it will actually help against just the damage. So Aces High requested a little bit of time to pause just so they could get their connection issues taken care of. Now that everything is good to go, we're going to resume and get this game back underway, and maybe talk about some of the things that we were earlier before the break. So we were talking about the junglers. We'll see how those transpire. Madwife in his jungle actually just jungling, whereas while Pantheon Theocles has been clearing camps relatively quickly, he's only down by 2. Primarily, is looking for a gank. He'll find the man drop immediately, but Noxiac might not last until he gets there. Immediate flash out there by Legs, but Wildheart is pretty dead. Holy Phoenix, grab that kill.
I mean, it wasn't a terrible trade for hard random, but with Theocles here in this bot lane, they can maybe put some pressure onto the tower. It is very low. Madwife is coming in from the side. He knows that he needs to try and defend it, and actually, if he can get close enough, they might be able to turn and get some damage down. There's very little mana on the side of Aces High, and I think that's probably why they decided to back up there, to be honest. Whoa, mid lane, look at the damage coming out of Avenue as well.
Yeah, and you really can't deal with very, very much of that, the Azir damage. The big problem with Azir is that Conquering Sands, when you use it to reposition your Sand Soldiers and send them to attack a champion, they'll go to the champion, but then you also automatically get an auto attack off with each individual Sand Soldier. So if you have 3 Sand Soldiers out, and you use Conquering Sands rather to reposition them, they all go down, but now Thaldrin might be in a little bit of a rough spot, forced to ult himself instead of using that on Nike 3. You can really see that sheen by paying off for Nike as Thaldren couldn't handle the burst.
You know, we're all so used to seeing Irelia up against fairly tanky matchups, because that's a common thing in the top lane. When you see her up against someone like an Irelia, those hit-tin style hits do such a ridiculous amount of damage, because she's just so squishy that it's really insane, actually. And Madwife needs to be a little bit careful here. I really doubt Thaldren's going to commit to anything, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure there in the lane. Nike 3 specifically, you can just walk underneath the turret and dive Thaldren if Theocles weren't there, or if he didn't have his stun up. They just go under there no problem, because Madwife's got that intervention so he can tank the turret hits without actually taking any damage from it. So bottom lane though, here we go. He's got Holy Phoenix actually microing forward into the fight. Noxiac will break the chain onto Lex, Blanchard backwards. Will pull Lex back into it, but I don't think that's where he wants to be. He's gonna try to Valkyrie away, but it's a double kill for Holy Phoenix.
Oh, Nike as well.
In the top lane, it's gonna go down to Theocles. That's what happens when you don't have your jungler there. Unfortunately, Madwife went to help the other lanes and didn't realize what a bad matchup that was for Nike. He'll go down, and now Thaldren walks right into Madwife. Will he be able to stay alive? Will get stunned, barely able to use that intervention. And a flashback out, but it's not in time. The Ice Shard from Thaldren follows him up for the kill.
Aces are really starting to pile on the pressure in all of these lanes, and really, you know, I feel like that was a mistake by Madwife to leave and not realize that Theocles could afford to kind of sit there for a while, wait for that kill. They're going to get their blue buff stolen away here. Obviously, that's a huge pickup for an Azir. The cooldown reduction, giving him attack speed as well, is very, very strong. And now, you know, Aces High are definitely solidly in the lead here. They've got the Dragon, they've picked up a bunch of kills.
Wow. They also have the Dragon Slayer, Pantheon, using that jump to try to pick off Kira mid, but he was able to disengage in time. Teleport bottom lane by Thaldren. He's coming in here, has the ice path forward. All he needs to do is click on somebody to lock them down. There's the flash in. Lex, though, will be alive here for just a little bit longer. Thaldren got baited under turret. The Ignite's going to tick down, but Holy Phoenix still on a rampage. He's diving in. He's going to go down here. A little bit of magic damage. Shield there, but it's not going to be enough. Madwife coming up big with the Magus enchantment on Stalker's Blade, helping him pick up the kill on a Holy Phoenix.
That was such a huge death sentence. It stopped Thaldren from landing her Ring of Frost, which it basically meant that if they wanted to pick up Lex, they had to dive. Hang on, this wild hard. Whoa!
Well, they're going to get bursted down, but he's got that intervention, so all of that focus just goes away. Perfect Kale ultimate. Madwife really putting that one to use. And, you know, speaking of putting ultimates to really good use, the Emperor's Divide there, Avenue, threw it out, and it really just completely stopped that hard random engage, or at least the one that they would have had onto Aces High, as they were able to safely disengage off of that. Dragon is up, and you can tell both teams really wanted, fighting a lot around that area, but neither one finding a solid enough advantage to make it count. Oh, wow! You don't no one expects the Noxiac Inquisition. He was actually trying to steal the red buff away too, but you better take what you can get, man. Nice invade into the jungle, really punishing Madwife for both being very low health and not having his ultimate up.
Yeah, that was really, I mean, there was not good enough vision from Hard Random to really move around that freely, even in their own jungle. And now they're just going for this dragon with Madwife being dead. It's easy for them to pick this up right now. Maybe Wildheart can interrupt it somehow, but you know, looking at that last fight, it was pretty good for Aces, to be honest, because they actually traded just Emperor's Divide for intervention and several other big cooldowns, so it was very good by them to get that. And then of course Noxiac picking up the kill in the jungle basically was what enabled the dragon attempt. So Aces, you know, the beginning of that looked pretty bad with the bot lane fight. Obviously, like I was saying, the death sentence stopping the Ring of Frost completely committed Holy Phoenix to diving out of the tower, but I think Hard Random really overcommitted there by trying to push up more into that river area.
Yeah, you always have to make sure that when you position like that, when you commit to you know, running deep into another area, you have an escape plan. Thresh Wildheart's a great way to give you one, but sometimes it doesn't work out necessarily the way that you plan. Specifically, things like Madwife doing his own jungle at, you know, at 2 HP with no wards up. Also, no escape plan there for when Noxiac was able to walk in and and kill him a little bit earlier. And so I like Wildheart being on hard random as sort of a dedicated escape plan, but man, look at Noxiac! What's this guy doing? He's winning the game by himself! He just walks in, ults Wildheart, and takes him down afterwards. A big engage, and maybe a little bit of underutilizing the ults as Theocles jumped in there with man drop. Noxiac had that, but man, Mad Life has to be, or Mad Wife rather, his betrothed has to be a little bit more careful there. Walks up and takes half of his HP just from a couple of Sand Soldier auto attacks.
Man, at this point, Noxiac should pick up a Poacher's Knife and Smite and just counter jungle. It seems like it's basically
just walk into the enemy jungle and take it all. He's already killing the champions in it. Might as well take the monsters too.
And he has really enabled a lot from Aces High here. I mean, for Aces High, I should say. Nike has had to come down now twice, and that has really enabled Thaldrun to get a good push in this top lane. That tower is very nearly down. He's also enabled a dragon. You know, getting that second dragon for free is a really nice pickup. It means that because they're doing a decent amount of split pushing at the moment, that's going to really help them with that 15% buff against towers to sort of keep the pressure up. And also just, you know, denying Madwife jungle and slowing down the late game hyper carry that is Kayle is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, gotta keep the late game from coming. Make sure the late game is late. At least that's the idea there. Versus Kayle. As far as like hyper carry is concerned, you gotta watch out for Avenue's Azir as well. But top lane's where the action's at now. 2v1 here as Nike's trying to do anything, something, but he just can't do it. He's gonna get back to Kayle just in time. Theocles has another idea. He'll take him down there, and then with the last auto attack coming in from Thaldrun, it's going to be a 2-for-0 exchange in favor of Aces High. They'll pick up the turret afterwards as well, and an overall just crushing victory starting to form here. Ace, they picked up game 1. They're looking to seal the deal and move on through the losers bracket.
This is one of the big issues with Kayle jungle, in my opinion. You just don't hit your item thresholds early enough for these kinds of fights. I mean, intervention is a great ability if it comes to a skirmish or a team fight, but firstly, your lane needs to be in a position to actually abuse it, be strong enough. And secondly, the Kayle needs to be able to do something. And at the moment, he's not. Holy Phoenix, though.
Yeah, he went way too aggressive there. Noxiac, for as much as he's been known to be that aggressor, is gonna get death sentence and die. And sure, there's the burst from Holy Phoenix, but he might actually go down. A nice stun in there. One more auto attack. Whoa, it's all he needs, but it's not enough. That Heartseeker strike from Theocles took down Wildheart. The Wild Heartseeker strike took him down. Lex died too, and just a really beautifully played team fight by Holy Phoenix. I have no idea how he knew just how deep to go and when to disengage, but he microed it perfectly and was able to get 2 kills for his team.
Yeah, I mean, Holy Phoenix definitely did some good micro there, but on the flip side, what was Lex doing? He flashed forward at the end to try and get an auto plus rocket combo into Holy Phoenix that probably wouldn't have been enough damage to kill him anyway, and gave up the kill to Theocles when he could have just backed away, and, you know, that would have been a lot better for them. In the mid lane, at the very least for hard random, they're picking up some things. Kira did get the kill onto Avenue, which is obviously very, very good. But yeah, that bot lane fight, they really tried to bite off more than they can chew, and hard random seem to keep doing this. They get a little bit, and then they just push it too far to the point where they actually give up more than they got.
And that's such a difficult decision to make. Kira, like you said, he's gonna get pushed back to base the hard way. 30-second death timer for that. And yet you can tell hard random over and over again. They keep falling into this this trap where you think you have the opponents, you think you can win the 2v2 and finally get yourself back in the game, but there's just barely far enough ahead to where they can barely live or barely kill you or just, you know, turn things around when you don't think they can. It's a really crushing place to be in because it really makes you not want to make the plays that you really need to get back in the game. But Noxiac, once again, roaming through the enemy jungle. Can he get out of this one alive? He's going to get clairvoyance there with those scrying orbs. Big one's going to land, but will it be enough to take him out? Nike would have been able to, but he would have run right into Theocles, so instead, he's going to disengage, and once again, turrets continuing to fall. Bottom one is down. Lex, Wildheart, Kira, Madwife, they're all down there. They need some extra support. It's 5 alive here for Hard Random, but they're all being used just to defend this bottom lane push.
That was a really nice rotation by Ace, though, and Noxiac took a very long scenic route out. Oh, Holy Phoenix, no!
Death Sentence barely catches him. He was trying to dash over the wall with his, was that quick draw, but he got stopped just at the last second by Wildheart. And then those are the kind of hooks Wildheart has been making all game long. He legitimately deserved to have that happen at least 2 or 3 more times this game, but he just barely got robbed from it. And that time, the hook did land, and that's what it looks like when it works.
I mean, even though that was a great hook, and even though taking down Holy Phoenix is a big deal, it is definitely more of a consolation prize than anything. They did lose the dragon there. They lost a tower bot before all of that happened, and really Hard Random, they're only getting these very, very small advantages whenever they take something, whereas Aces High, they're snowballing every small advantage into a bigger one. I really think a large part of this is that Hard Random are not warding anywhere near enough, and I actually think it's kind of weird that they've gone for the 3 sweeping lenses. If they were ahead and wanted to be pressuring and make sure that they could deny vision, that would make a lot more sense, but right now, they don't have the kind of vision that they require to actually make it, you know, a good idea to go for that tactic, in my opinion. But now, looks like they kind of want to go for a bit of a base race, actually.
This is pretty crazy. Azir kills turrets incredibly quickly, and look at that, there's a teleport mid to keep these from going, the minions from dying. The Achilles just man dropped in, and no man, Aces High are already on the inhibitor. You can see that Hard Random are starting to go for an inhibitor of their own, but they need to hit these back buttons. There's actually a teleport down to this turret, and immediate dark binding in there on a Nike 3. The Achilles may die, no, he's gonna get out alive, but just barely delaying this push in here. Could this be a turnaround? Aces High are forced backwards. Holy Phoenix is turning around. There is the KO ultimate. It's the intervention keeping Mad Wife alive, but he gets crit down at the end by Holy Phoenix. He's still in there. The death sentence will hit him. Pull him in there, and he finally dies. A triple kill for Lex. Is this the Quadra? He's got the red buff. It's a Quadra kill for Lex to stop this invasion of the base here. Ace able to take down a Nexus turret, but they get almost aced in return.
That was absolutely crazy, and actually, because the minions are up in that bottom lane, they are really, really close to taking down this inhibitor. Can Pantheon get there in time? That's the question. He's actually kind of just sitting on the base fountain. I don't know about this. Oh man, this inhibitor
it's
is
down
so
to 500,
low.
400, 300 HP, and the minions die. So a nice save of that bottom inhibitor. It will regenerate that hit points, but it's still very, very low. As Hard Random come back and take their 7th turret of the game. The turrets are tied, not actually because of Azir turrets, but you get the idea. They're very, very close. Actually, I want to go ahead and count these. It's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it's 6 to 7, not 7 to 7, because of course Hard Random have killed an Azir turret as well.
You know, actually, the Rangers Trailblazer paying dividends there, saving the inhibitor. I'm not sure Pantheon would have had quite enough damage to finish off that wave of minions had he not been able to use that.
Oh, that's
but,
true.
You know, overall,
well played.
I'm not sure about this pushing up by Hard Random. Madwife, where are you at, buddy?
Well, he's got the rest of his team there, and he does have an intervention. There's the save, but they got the follow-up. The Achilles, he's black shielded too. He's gonna go in and find a spell immune kill on it to Madwife. The death sentence will land to pull him in. Noxiac just ulting to disengage there, a little bit more afraid, but walking in behind. Kira death sentence is gonna land onto him. It's gonna hit it. That's a pick off, a 1-for-1 trade there. And the Hard Random starting to claw their way back in this. Aces High kind of falling prey to the same thing that Hard Random did, where you just barely make a play, but that actually doesn't make it, and you wind up losing a little bit more than you wanted to.
And actually, you know, Hard Random, their kind of pokey composition is really starting to pay off. They can just poke whilst they disengage, and then turn around and go in when everyone's low, speaking of which.
Yep, there's the engage there with a big box after play. A shutdown there by Nike. He's gonna get the reset on his Q. Kira's in the back line, just barely surviving, and oh my goodness, Nike might have died, but Kira survived, and Hard Random, like I said, continue winning these fights.
And actually, Madwife, spawned at a really good time there. He is going to be there just in time to finish up the minions trying to attack that Nexus tower. So they didn't even lose, a tower mid or anything like that. That's something you quite frequently see at these late stages of the game, to be honest, where, you go for a fight, but the other team doesn't mind losing it too much because maybe you lose a Nexus tower or something. That didn't happen. Madwife was in position, and actually, Lex is seriously strong right now. After picking up that quadra kill, he is definitely, on par with where Holy Phoenix is in terms of just items and stuff. He is able to fight right now, and that's a big part of the reason why Hard Random's starting to do a bit better in these fights.
Yeah, Hard Random, you really can't take anything away from the way that they've started to come back in this game. After Lex picked up that quadra kill off the base race, I mean, sure, Aces High were able to take down a base or a Nexus turret, but now they actually have to get back to the Nexus to finish it off, and that has proven to be increasingly difficult, although Avenue is not making it look that way. He's 0-2, and he still takes Madwife down below half HP off of just a couple of auto attacks.
We've talked about it before, but I think this Kale pick has not worked at all for Hard Random. It might start to do a bit more work now that we're getting to this later stages of the game. Maybe a good intervention on Lex could really be what they need in a fight to make sure that it's a win. But once he gets this Zanya, yeah, that's going to be a big pickup. But he is really not very strong yet. And just Avenue, man. Want to talk about him for a second. There's just so much damage coming out of him. He hasn't even picked up any kills yet. Azir is crazy. Ooh, Thaldrin.
Yeah, he's crazy. Thaldrin might be crazy. He's in a little bit of a rough spot. He's going to pop his Zanyas as well. 5 seconds of invulnerability, but it's not enough to keep him alive. That's going to be Lex going godlike. Theocles, though, will take him down at the end. Noxiac burning down, but he's going to stay alive there, too. Lands a long-range Dark Binding, and Aces High just barely. Coming out of that team fight with an ace with Avenue. Picking up the final kill. Now he went into the team fight death or killless. Came out with 2, and now this is the time to end the game. 30 seconds on the majority of the death timers. You got 10 seconds for Madwife and Nike, and only 1 Nexus turret alive. Do Aces High finish this game right now? Back off the
Nah, they're a little bit too low health for that. And actually, that fight was incredibly close. Hard Random definitely could have taken, at the very least, a draw coming out of that fight. The problem was that Lex way overvalued killing Noxiac at the end. He actually flashed onto an Emperor's Divide just to try and get the last auto attack onto Noxiac when he could have just been dealing damage to Avenue the entire time. You saw how close their health values were at the end there. I mean, prioritizing Avenue instead of Noxiac there would definitely have resulted in him getting the kill and not dying, and maybe either being able to get away, clear some waves, or then turn on to Noxiac later on in the fight. So Lex, this is twice where he's flashed forward to try and get a kill and paid for it with his life. He needs to be a little bit less aggressive because he doesn't have anyone backing him up in these situations.
And that's very, very accurate. Once again, turret count has remained even though there's now 8 to 7 turret kill count. Now Nike is going to be the tank in the front. He also gets intervention, so he'll stay alive a lot longer. The Wildheart, dead. Madwife, dead. It's going to be Nike to fall afterwards. A big Emperor's Divide backwards as well. And a huge team fight win here for Aces High. We're going to see a double kill. Is it a triple? Nope. Just going to finish it off at that. 2 kills picked up there at the end by Holy Phoenix, but he's not letting it slip there. He's continuing on to Kier. Can he escape? Continue to throw Shock Blast backwards. This is going to be a relatively anticlimactic chase. I don't think either person is really... Oh, Cage just flashed in there! Holy Phoenix almost died, but winds up picking up the ace.
And Aces, they pick up the game. Really nice job by them. Those last few fights were really just symptomatic of Hard Random biting off more than they could chew again and again. Going for the death sentence onto Thaldrin was a nice idea,